Thank God you're here.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Wow.
It's great to see you both. Thank you for joining us. What a blessing. What a blessing. And I'm sure that's not lost on you guys, you know, the fact that through the loss and the pain of losing people you love, but also building family and rewarding yourself with life, it's all a blessing.
Yes, it is, man. It's definitely a blessing indeed. For sure, you know, and here we are.
Yeah. With the body of work that is so essential and just teeming with life. You make movies. You always have. I feel like those movies are rooted in truth, in true life. But you, even at the beginnings, I felt like you understood the power of art. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to create what I see. You love to create.
Absolutely. And that was the mission from the beginning, right? Wasn't about money, wasn't about none of those things. It truly was about the art, you know what I mean? And that was the beautiful thing about teaming up with Al, you know what I mean? Because he's from that same cloth, you know, of art. He's a curator.
Oh, yeah.
I think that might have been what set you apart from your peers when you were growing up, you know, from where you came from. Because, you know, the stories they tell me was dedicated to the craft. Like he was on his, you know what I'm saying, every day. If it wasn't, you know, went to art and design school.
You studied it. You studied it. And
Hav is an artist in every sense of the word.
That's right. Great,
you know what I mean?
Great musicians often, in my lifetime, having spent 30 plus years talking to them, many are designers by trade who found their way into music. Some people are filmmakers who found their way into music. Where they began is often a little bit different, and then they find their way in. But I always feel like when I'm listening to Mobb Deep records, and the same can be said for your music, that I'm experiencing something multi-sensory.
Yo,
absolutely.
You should see how good he draws.
What kind of stuff you draw?
Crazy.
What kind of stuff you draw?
Like anything. Like he just has a knack. You know, I have a theory that artists, like any medium, you know, most musicians, if you tell them to draw something, probably have a bit of skill because it's just you transfer the medium. You know, we just focused on music.
Yeah. Look, it's a spirit inside of you. It chooses how it comes out.
Yeah.
And boy, is it loud on this record.
Very loud. Really loud.
Wow. Okay, let's get into it. The album. So excited you're back. Obviously bittersweet as it always would be from the second that you lost your friend.
Yeah.
You know, and partner in this whole experience. And it was a great loss for music, but a greater loss for you on a personal level. So, of course, very, very belated. But regardless, man, rest in peace to the great.
Yes.
So going back in and you know, I only go where I'm invited. So please uninvite me if necessary. But I'd like to know what it's like to go through and posthumously experience your friend's words and feelings and energy and start to create around that as opposed to previous albums where you're in the room together figuring it out.
It's tough, you know what I mean? When you listen into the lyrics in a cappella mode and he says things that like have premonitions, like, you know, I love you, see you on the other side. You know, you have to focus and be like, okay, there's a job we need to do.
Yeah. Alk, as a producer, I know obviously, you know, you've got clear publishing on this record on a few cuts, but your spirit is definitely across this. I know how important it was to you that this wasn't just a check and check out situation as much as you put into those situations, that this was very much a project you were passionate about, a lifelong loyalty to this group.
Absolutely. It's part of my story. This is legacy. This is not about money. This is not about any of those things. This is literally to continue the legacy of something I was like blessed to be let in. Like I said before, when they put me down, it was like my finger was pricked. You know what I mean? Like Havoc is arguably one of the best producers of all time.
Hands down.
And to be able to be let into a camp, you know what I'm saying? And let me, you know, just add on and then kind of build from there. I mean, everything I do, I give credit to Mobb Deep. Every beat I do, and I always wonder if P would be proud or, you know what I'm saying? I'm always like, I know he would. You know, if I'm working with a new artist or think about it, what would he would think? But it's like everything I do is to continue that legacy. So for me, this is personal, you know what I mean? And the fact that me and Hav were able to put it together first, like we literally got together and was like, you know, it's time with the family, of course.
Yeah. But a full circle moment
with
for
the
you.
Team, with the family, with Tasia, with everybody. You know, the crew, Noy, the whole clique. And we really, we worked on something and it felt from the inception, from the first days, it felt like we were back and we felt peace, spirit, and it was like, this is the right thing to do. You know, it was time.
Can you rewind to me? Because honestly, it's one of my favorite tidbits of information in hip hop because you guys both had these historic careers, everything you guys have both done separately. But as you say, this is a full circle moment. What were those early moments like? Because I've heard you say this, that you knew how to make beats, but he's like, Havoc was pivotal in creating the Alchemist that we know now. Rewind a little bit and talk about that experience when you get in the room with these guys.
I mean, I feel so lucky. There was a time, we're talking about the late 90s, 99, 2000. The tunnel was still in New York, just set the scene of what we're talking about.
And you're an LA guy.
Oh, yeah.
And you're over
I
there.
moved to New York.
Yeah.
I was a young guy. I still have my Soul Assassin ring. Muggs, respect, put me on. Now I'm in New York going to school. And Muggs connected me with Infamous Mobb, which then linked me with Mobb Deep. And, I was out there by myself.
How old were you at the time?
Like mid-20s, early 20s.
Yeah.
And
Old enough to be in the room, but young enough to be soaking it up.
Yes, and being able, like I had a style and I was developing my shit and it was getting better, but being able to be around Havoc in the studio, like, he used to make beats from scratch. I don't know how much he does it these days, but he used to just come in there. The E&J bottle was half finished. You know what I mean? They would come in straight out the gate. It would be 35. 35. The whole hood was in the studio, and Hav would just craft beats from scratch. And like, I would be lying if I didn't learn like certain drum patterns and how to. He used to duck down underneath the table to hear the bass, because if you in certain studios like if you get in a certain area, it's like a bass trap, and I used to just watch him. Like, everybody else didn't know what the hell he was doing.
I watched a friend of mine. I watched a friend of mine define the bass line by putting his hand against the woofer and waiting for his hand to pop just enough.
Right.
All the techniques to make sure that it's got definition.
Yeah.
But we could hear all this. What you heard in the room. You could have retold that story and I'd have got goosebumps. But you didn't even, thank you, but at the time you didn't even need to, because when we would play your records.
You felt it.
I'm in Auckland. I'm in New Zealand.
Wow.
And we're sitting in our flats, living together, listening to loud music, smoking weed, drinking fucking alcohol, being dumb and young. And the lights are off and we're listening to your records and we feel it. Thousands of miles away. What was it like in the room when you were making it? That beautiful little tiny space between the energy of the room and the creative process.
It was like a journey, right? Like a journey for a search for that pot of gold. You know what I mean? Just, you know what I mean? It's like the never-ending search. It was a nervous feeling, right? Oof. Like, because it sounds so good. You like, damn, will it sound good to everybody else?
Yeah, I know. I got something. Is it going to translate?
Adrenaline rushing, you know what I mean? Just adrenaline rush throughout the whole session.
We're going to focus on this new record, but we're kind of just like, we're paying our respects at this point. So we're going to just stay right there. You guys are still back there, by the way. You never left. Your spirits are still there. So we're going to reconnect with that just quickly. Those songs that have traveled. I've been in so many rooms.
Crazy.
Where those songs get played and they are as electrifying and iconic and anthemic as they were the day you put them out. So did you know? Shook Ones, did you just know? I know.
No, I didn't.
No.
I didn't. I really didn't know. You know what I mean?
I was looking like, no, I knew.
As a fan, when I heard it, I was like, are you kidding me? Changed all of our lives.
I mean, look, man, when I'm walking around Queensbridge Projects and everybody's finally playing it, then that's when I knew.
What's that feel like?
Incredible. You know what I mean? Like your neighborhood is now supporting you. You know what I mean? And that's the foundation. So,
And if Queens is feeling you, we had this argument on air the other day. I made the argument that...
Don't do that in front of people from Queens, man.
This is the perfect people to do it in front of. I said Queens has the greatest MCs in hip-hop history.
See?
Like,
a man of my own heart. I love it.
Did I say...
He's from Seattle!
Hey,
no bias.
I know.
No biased opinion.
Right.
So if Queens is feeling you, and also, another thing, I'm took my own horn because you in front of me, I said Shook Ones, if I had to describe New York, I'm a little older.
Yeah.
I was around for the 90s.
Okay.
What's the quintessential New York song? And I've told people, I've told Ebro, I've told Zane, it's Shook Ones.
Yeah.
So when that catches in Queens, a place that knows MCs and rap music, you had to be like, oh yeah, we out of here.
Right. Eventually. Yeah, I definitely got that feeling. We carried on the tradition of the Queens MC, you know what I mean? Like, and that's a high bar, being from Queens, because we got LL, Run DMC.
Yeah.
And later on, you get 50 and you get Nicki.
To me, Havoc's production is like the sound of Queens. And there's a lot of other people who added on, and for me, when I came in, he had the blueprint already. So I was able to immerse myself in and figure out. But it came from, when you think of all the stuff he made in the catalog, It all, even G-Unit and 50 fell off of that tree, in my opinion. You talk about the sound, the
yes.
beat.
Can I be super nerdy for a second? Just the hats. So loud. Just like
the snare.
The snare just is punishing.
Obnoxious.
Like, it's really obnoxious. It's like violent, right? In a great way. But I want to talk about the melodies too. This idea of capturing that Cosa Nostra piano type. Everything just feels like it's happening in an alleyway with very little light. Was it movie driven? Like, where does the inspiration come from to create this feeling that is so visceral?
You know, set aside from the neighborhood that I grew up in being the inspiration, watching movies was my second biggest inspiration. Like watching Scarface, Goodfellas, King of New York, New Jack City. You know what I'm saying? Watching those movies and just hearing a split second of something and be like, oh, okay, let me get this VHS tape and sample this. You know what I mean? I love the moods of, you know, film that it brings you through. So it translates into, you know, my production. Like, I want to put you in a mood.
Yeah, you really job.
You do
done.
it. Yeah.
That he does.
Job. I've had arguments with friends. We didn't even know why we were arguing because you put your beats on, bro. I was like, why are we even having an argument right now? It's Mobb Deep, man. This is what you do.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Man, this album is such a blessing because, you know, we would celebrate you regardless, and rightfully so. But the fact we get to do it with an album which sounds so exciting today is additive to what you've created as well. Let's talk about the nuts and bolts of putting this together, where this journey began for you, for the two of you, bringing everybody back together, wanting to recapture the spirit of what makes a Mobb Deep album come to life. Where did it begin?
For me, it began in my head, right? You know, from the moment the untimely passing of, you know, Prodigy, the grieving period started, and then after a while, it's like, yo, we got to get this done, right? I have to leave home to get some more inspiration. And the first place I go is to LA, to Alchemist's studio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I go there and I'm like, yo, Al, what's up? It's, you know what I mean? Second nature. It's like, you know what I mean?
I've been in that room. It's hard not to want to stay. It's incredible. You're surrounded by music, and right there in the middle of it is the temple.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
What about you, Al? I mean, when Havoc shows up and that's your friend, to some degree, that's your mentor.
Absolutely.
And he shows up in your room and there's a conversation about, hey, you know, just in the same way you were in the room when I was making beats back in the day and you're absorbing, I'm now in your room.
Absolutely.
What are we going to do?
I mean, you know, I think a lot of this stuff is based on timing. And it felt like the timing was right when we linked up and the conversations we were having. And you know, life is short. You know what I mean? You know, like, do it now. You know what I'm saying? P is a testament to that. And he worked so hard because he probably knew he might not have been here as long as the rest of us. And he worked with that type of discipline.
Yeah.
And then us having these gems in these computers and having access, and the family getting a hold of some unreleased vocals.
Must have been moving and emotional at times.
Absolutely. It was like P talking to you, you know, and you know, luckily enough, we have a lot of footage, you know, and there's tapes of P just literally holding the camera or taping it to his dashboard and driving around the city talking to the camera.
Wow. Crazy.
It's like almost like an Instagram live or something. It's actually eerie because P was just so ahead on so many things, and even when you listen to the album, some of the lyrics sound topical.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, how, you know what I'm saying? Right. So relevant.
And some of the best performances I recall of him on record as well, like just the tone even more urgent and more direct.
Urgent. Yeah, that's a good word. I feel that was something in my head when it was time to make the record. Urgent.
An urgency.
Like, we have to do this. You know what I mean? Hav is here. Hav is the spirit of Mobb Deep is still here. P is still here. You know what I mean? So we have to, you know, put it together. And I think from what we had and the time we spent, when we were putting it all together, I felt like it really had the spirit of Mobb Deep. Because, you know, we feel like we have to do justice for P. You know, I don't take that light. And I think, you know, I was real proud. Hav was killing everything, you know, and we had to work around P's vocals, mind you.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was limited as far as we couldn't just make a song about anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So P really became the leader of the record.
That's right. The creative director, just
Literally,
by the very nature that he'd already recorded these things. He gave you the blueprint.
Yes, he did. And we just kind of crafted around it, and hopefully we did justice to it.
Yep.
Oh,
wow. You guys were talking about timing specifically, and this is a conversation we had with Slick Rick earlier. It seems like now.
by the way, I've had a good day.
yeah.
I've had a great
Slick
day.
Rick the ruler.
Yeah, and we were talking
God.
about how it
Nice
seems
job, yeah.
we're more receptive now to our ambassadors and our OGs coming back and making music, and we point to examples. LL Cool J dropped a great album. Clip's coming back. Who's on your project?
Yeah.
I talked about how Run the Jewels really opened the door in a lot of ways by being a new band, but further on in their life, any new band
Absolutely.
on the you know.
Right.
Did you guys feel that when we're like, you know what? Maybe maybe there was apprehension before, but you're like, yo, there's an audience for this now for us to do it.
To be honest with you, I always thought about putting out music, and my colleagues just beat me to the punch. You know what I mean?
Raekwons and
you know what I'm saying? They just beat me to the punch. But no matter what the temperature was, I was always gonna just make sure that I put out a Mobb Deep album. And if they didn't have the appetite, they're gonna have the appetite today. You understand?
So
And
you knew that pretty much immediately after the passing. You were like, we have material, we have words and emotions. We have to honor this.
Absolutely, because I feel like there was unfinished business. You understand? The last project was in 2014.
Yes.
So like, come on now. Like, nah, we're not going to do that. We have material, and we need to let Prodigy's voice be heard. Yeah. We need to let Mobb Deep's voice be heard.
Yep.
One more go around. And then, then we could chill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For real.
I was at that Roots picnic in L.A.
Okay.
You, you saw that there was an audience for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And it wasn't nothing new about that music. And it was sold out. You understand what I'm saying? So the appetite is there.
Definitely. Look, I mean, rap music, any genre of music, no matter how shallow in history it seems in terms of the timeline of something being hundreds of years old versus 40, 50 years old, it doesn't matter. It ages beautifully. I listened to the records that came out in 1992. People go, the golden era. I'm like, no, timeless.
Right.
Yeah.
Timeless. You can't tell me that your music, Tribe, these records don't sound as essential today when you put them on. I played lyrics to go in a club the other night and it was fucking dominated.
Oh my God, that dude is so crazy.
Right.
I mean, Mobb Deep is an institution, in my opinion. They are like, from the logo to everything they created, it's literally like damn near its own genre when you dig into the catalog. That's what always separated them, I think, from a lot of groups, was the in between cuts, the joints that just leaked out, the freestyles. It was like
just the chemistry
the
as well,
beats,
the way you two just bounced off each other.
My
Sometimes
God.
I'd be like, man, there's just a blurring between the verses. It's just like the transitions are insane.
Bro, you guys had people saying done. Like, I'm from Seattle. Like, yo, son, done. Like, we don't talk like that.
language.
Yeah. The done language went a long way, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Can I ask you a tough question?
Please.
Did you discuss legacy before he passed? Did you talk about what life might be like if he didn't get to see a full life because of the circumstances he was dealt?
Well, we never spoke about that, right? Like, but there were always moments where we would kill a show, some important show that we would do, and we get backstage to the dressing room and Pia look at me and be like, yo, we did it. Yeah. I'm like, yo, but it's 15 years later and he's still like, we did it. You know what I mean? Like, because it to me and him, I believe we had this sense of this thing that we did was a miracle. You understand what I'm saying? To make it from nothing to something and to a high level. You understand, with everything that we had against us, we weren't commercial at all.
No.
You know what I mean? We barely got any play on MTV. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? But we had these platinum and gold records, you know what I mean, to back us up. So, everything that we did, we fought for.
And legacy too. I mean, you were having platinum records like 8 years after you first came out.
Crazy.
Was y'all mad young too when you initially came out?
Pretty much. When we first put our record out in 1993, we was about 18, stuff like that.
Yeah, you're damn near a child star, bro. Like, that's insane. That's insane. What was it like at that time when you had that kind of record that was moving and you knew your lives were changing in real time, but you also had your contemporaries around you, your peers around you? And I think it's safe to say for anyone who's a lifelong rap fan, let alone the people who helped create the architecture and the music within it, that it was a very competitive time. And as much as there was support, there was limited attention for hit records in the genre. And so you are dominating. You've got attention out there. What was it like walking the line between camaraderie and competition?
I mean, it was tough. You know what I mean? You got Wu-Tang out there. You got Biggie. You got Nas. You got all these people. You really don't have time to think about competition. The most thing you could do is like think about making a dope record.
Yeah.
You know, because if you get lost in that, you know, about, yo, man, we got to make a bet, you're going to fumble, you know. So we just had to like put our blinders on and just make Mobb Deep music. And that's why I think it sounded so different from anything else that was kind of out at the time.
Yeah. You know, you've talked about obviously the mentorship that you experienced, but I think I'd also like to reference, you know, Q-Tip, who changed your life.
Absolutely.
You know, for the people that don't know, I mean, a chance meeting ultimately led to a life-changing experience.
Yeah. I mean, that was a blessing, right? We came, Steve Rifkin signed us. We get to Loud. Steve is like, you can do whatever you want. But we knew we needed some kind of assistance, right? You know, the training wheels was off. We knew Tip already. He agreed to like, hey, I hope y'all mix it. I'll throw y'all some tracks, whatever. So that was like, there's no Infamous album without Q-Tip.
Didn't it go further back than that, where he actually kind of opened the door for you to some degree?
I mean, pretty much. You know, we met him down by Def Jam and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And you know, one thing led to another, and we forged a relationship that you know, helped us move forward in this industry.
How impactful as a producer for you was it to spend time with him? Because Q-Tip's one of the great producers in the genre across any kind of music.
I mean, you know, that was my mentor. You know what I mean? At that in real time, you know, I had to learn on the job. You know what I mean? And I had to really refrain from fanning out. You know what I mean? This is Q-Tip. You know what I mean? Like all the dope records that we are talking about, he already made.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm sitting next to him like, yo, bro, this is my teacher. You know?
And that speaks to not only how great Q-Tip is, but think about going one step further. So he creates all the great music that they create with Tribe, his solo albums. He influences you. And then a whole nother thing's happening in L.A. And famously, Dr. Dre said Q-Tip's music influenced him to make The Chronic.
I believe that. So
think about Q-Tip's influence in just not in Queens and New York hip-hop, but all the way over here. Like, that's wild.
Dude made Crooklyn Dodgers.
He did everything. And back then, I didn't know about samples like that. Like, also, he was kind of like our first DJ playlist.
Yes.
Like, I discovered Ramp. Through hearing Tribe Called Quest. Like,
Daylight,
the samples,
for sure.
like, yo, he was like somebody would put you up on some music. He was putting us up on things through the beats.
Right.
And like how those drum breaks blended with those loops to this day.
Right.
Still, I didn't know back then that I thought it was just a piece of music, but the artistry that he was doing of gluing breaks with loops and with
Even that
power.
the Donald Byrd sample he put on Footsteps is like a split second in the middle of that song, which if you listen to the original has so much Donald Byrd going on around it. You're like, there's no way you're going to be able to flip that and give it like space. And he just flipped it. Like,
incredible.
And a great curator. I mean, you know, again, and we can move on in a second, but respect to Q-Tip, who's a friend and a part of the Apple family, man. He not only heard greatness in you, but everyone knows about his relationship with Dilla.
And, you know, listen, I felt similar way how I don't know how Dilla felt, but when they put me on, it was a similar thing, like Havoc, you know what I'm saying? The same way when I was being mentored by Muggs, you know, like I had the blessing to be around some greats. And I think a lot is to be said because I know Hav even told me about days when you was with Large Professor.
Yeah.
Or you said Nas brought you over there and how that affected you. Or I remember a day in the studio going to see Hav and P and they weren't there yet. And this dude parks a Benz outside. It's 1 a.m. I'm sitting in Soundtrack waiting for y'all. Dude parks a Benz and comes in with a bag of records and goes, yo, is Busta here yet? They're like, nah, he's not here yet. He said, I'm going to go in the room and just make some beats. And I'm sitting in the hallway. I'm like, who is this dude? And he goes in and starts chopping up some samples and is making a beat. And I'm sitting there going, one day, you know who it was?
That was LP?
Rashad Smith.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to Rashad, man. Tumbling dice. But I told him that story later. But, you know, like just the blessing to be around all these greats, man.
You were just soaking it up.
I was jealous that day. He had the Benz outside. I was like, Busta just lets him come in the room and make beats.
Right.
I'm trying to think of like the key moment in your journey where you got out of the corridor, out of the waiting room and got into the room. Would you know what it was?
Mobb Deep. You could literally place my career on a timeline. You know, of course, Dilated and Muggs and Cypress put me on. But once Mobb Deep stamped me, that's how Nas wanted to work with me. CNN, Pharoah Monch, Fat Joe. I could name
You know what else,
it was
man?
a
And
stamp.
I've talked to you about this for a second. If I could just nerd out for a second, but I feel, and this is way further down the timeline than that, but I feel like that whole "We Gonna Make It" era was
Oh
pretty.
my God.
Well, yeah, that helped.
That might be my favorite. I'm not gonna lie. That might be my favorite beat you done did, bro.
Holy shit! I still can't figure out how the fuck you flipped that.
Fuck the frail shit.
Me neither. Yeah, it was just a great timing, man, and like also being able to work with these guys. When think about it, Mobb Deep, they were the top of the top.
Yeah.
This was raw, hardcore rap, but this was also connecting in the
Yes.
clubs, on the streets,
Yeah.
everywhere. So I just caught a great era. You know what I mean? You know, like being in New York and being able to work with these guys at their height is, I just feel lucky. You know what I mean?
That's
Just
beautiful,
leave
bro.
some things behind.
But one of the through lines here of this conversation is being a student, right? Recognizing that there's you're in a room to learn, and there are people here that can impart wisdom and knowledge and talent and creativity and ultimately give you the tools.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about as a producer, because you come into the game just learning, right? And wanting to learn more and being, blessed enough to be around these other great producers. If you're not trying to learn, then you soon will exit this game. You know what I mean?
real.
Yeah,
You know that feeling that you got when you got adrenaline, when you knew, and you got that nervousness in your belly? What's a song on this album where you made something and you got that feeling again and you knew? And I'm sure there's a lot, but is there one that jumps out?
Oh, man. Against the World.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Against the World really was like...
You knew it was the opener from the get-go, right? You just got that feeling.
Yeah. I was like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, so it was a good feeling.
I love this, bro.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this because we've given, you guys have both given each other flowers, and Alchemist, you're making it very clear the influence that Havoc had on you. But Havoc, what is it like for you to see him branch off and have his own success? Because I mean, honestly, bro, one of my favorite albums this year is the one you did with Larry June and
Which
2
one? He
Chainz.
put out 19 with Larry June in the last 6 months.
The Larry June's and 2
The guy
Chainz
puts
this
out
year.
38 albums a month, and every one of them is fucking good. I can't deal.
Fatigue, yeah,
I can't
fatigue is
deal.
setting in.
The guy's actually 19 years old. Look how exhausting it is making that much music.
So how does that work? I don't know. Does he send it to you first? Do you just stream and you hear? What's it like for you when you hear some of his work? You're like, my God,
to hear
doing
some
it.
of his work.
Yeah.
First of all, number one, it's inspirational.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? And whatever bug he was bit by, I'm looking for the bug. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, my God.
I'm like, yeah, I need some of that. You know what I mean? But yo, it's like, that's what we want to see, right? That's what we want to champion, because if he excels, the game excels. You understand what I'm saying? That work ethic is something that people need to witness and see. And like, yo, get up off your ass and get to work.
You and a collection of artists have literally propped a certain feeling that we get from listening to rap music. You prop that shit up. Like what you've been doing with Griselda, with the crew, with Larry June, with everybody else, and the consistency and dedication that you've applied to it. My favorite game in the world right now is to go and play Who Sampled on Alchemist beat and know that I'm clocking about 17% recognizability. There is no you will not find the breaks. You will not get them.
It's a blessing, man. I have fun still. I don't, the opportunities and not having access to all these great artists. I mean, I feel like it's just starting to get good. As crazy as that sounds, I know it's been a long ride, but like now shit is starting to feel like we can really do what we want. And we have this like climate that I feel like, or this environment that we created, if
You
it's
have a
like
freedom and altitude.
freedom, but I don't feel, because now we have the live element.
Yeah.
We got the merchandise,
Yeah.
we're doing physical. So we have like this full ecosystem. And it's like, nobody better would have been than Prodigy in this era, because he preached this from the gate.
Yeah.
He was always about independence and doing your own thing. And I think about him with everything I do, like literally, like, because he kind of had the idea first. And I feel like it's just a good time. And I don't take it light, because the artists that I listen to and was raised off of, I feel like, okay, they did their thing and inspired us. Now maybe it's my time. I got to do what we're doing now and inspire the next batch. And some kid will come up and be like, yo, I was listening to whatever it is.
You know, the crazy thing about ALC, though, is I don't even feel like ALC is an independent label. That's how beautiful the experience has become. I know it is, but it presents itself like a captain of industry.
For sure.
And that's what I love about it. That independent thing can often feel like a booby prize almost.
Right.
Like, oh, you're an independent artist. Good luck with that. And people don't go deep enough into the math to realize it's more profitable. There's more freedom if you work hard enough. But I feel like you've walked the line between establishing that business ethos, but you've built a brand that feels like it holds its place on the high street with any other
That's
major
dope.
label.
I mean, we did, that all came after. Because first it was the music and the artistry. Then figuring out a way to make it profitable was like the blessing to me. Because there was a lot of years when it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, we could go back to 2008, 9, 10, 11 when it was when it was kind of like rough for this style of music. Like where you know what I mean? And then little by little, necessity became the mother of invention, and things, we started making higher quality product and limiting it and doing direct consumer things. And it was like, after time, it was like you keep your head down and you're just running through the line. Then you look up and you're like, oh, it's okay now.
Yeah, because they said that was dead. It was right around with that era. Well, you didn't. You knew. But
a handful of people. I don't want to say me, but there was a handful of people I say that we were all together. And like a movement never happens when a bunch of people get to have a meeting and go, yo, let's do this movement.
It's true.
It just happens when a collection of people are all down and are just doing their thing. And before you know it, it builds something bigger. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at now. And
before we get back to this album, I got to ask you, do you know off the top of your head how big the ARC catalog is right now? Like how many pieces of...
It's extensive, man.
It's extensive,
yes,
right?
And still growing. So,
oh, dude.
Yes.
Every year.
More to come. Yeah,
every January 1st, man, me and my friends sit around and go, how many fucking ALC records are we going to get this year? It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year, I reckon.
Man.
Yes. No, and blessings to you, and thank you so much for everything that you do. I know we know each other a little bit.
I appreciate you, man, for real. I mean, that means the most. Getting it back is like, that's why we do it. You
should hear how he talks about you when you're not around. Like we'll be on the radio and be like, Alchemist,
that's actually my man. That's my friend.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, I want to talk about this album in more detail. I want to talk about each of your favorite moments from Prodigy on this record.
Every verse, you know what I mean? Getting to hear these verses from him, being able to, revamp them, bring them back to life. Hearing him as if he's in the room is just special for me, definitely.
Is there a line or a verse or a moment you were working on this record that really grabbed you when you heard his voice and it just reminded you?
I mean, Pour the Henny, his verse is heavy, That verse is like the whole time. We were like, once, had to beat for it, and it was like, we ran that back a lot because it was just like he was talking from, where he's at. Like it was freaky, but it was like, for him to even write like that was always tripped me out. Like he knew no bounds. And he wasn't afraid to go anywhere. It was like, that verse definitely was one that I remember we were like, this is crazy, like how the perspective he was rhyming from, but yeah. And throughout the whole album making it was definitely emotional, but also like a positive feeling too, because I felt like we were doing the right thing.
You made the record entirely in the studio, in your studio?
Half and half. Half came out, and then we went out to New York, and we crafted everything together, and we felt like that was important too, to like, and just bouncing ideas back and forth. And Hav is the leader, he's the sound. So for me, it was
you got what, 4 cuts on there?
Yeah, and always every Mobb album always just added some things. So I felt like it was right to do the same formula, where it was like he already had the meat and potatoes. So it was like, okay, let me see what type of sauces I can add to this. And that was always the formula anyway, so.
How are you road testing these things? Like say you're out in New York and you're in your studio, you got something cooking, you like it, you got a monitor mix, you haven't got it through the mastering level yet, but you want to go make sure it feels good. You driving, you walking, how are you figuring it out?
I'm driving. I'm playing it in the car. That's my tester. That's my true test. It's playing it in the car.
Yeah. I want to talk about the experience of being mature and having everybody back again, and knowing what it's like to sort of capture the true essence of Mobb Deep and the energy and the danger of telling these stories. And there is a danger to the music. It does have that feeling when you walk down the street listening to it in your headphones, like it gives you that feeling again. What it was like having everybody back together who was still with you, and what it was and what that felt like with some life lived versus how it was when you were young and the drinking was happening. It was just the energy was different in the studio.
It felt more responsible, right? Like, less Hennessy spilled on the trackboard and things of that nature. So it felt more responsible, but it felt good though, right? Like to bring the team back together, the peoples, and, just vibing out, just making sure that the project came out good.
I visited New York way before I ever went to New York through you guys' music. Like you guys always painted that picture for me. I felt it. Did you know you had that responsibility with so many people, or were you just making it, and then after the fact you realized like, oh, we created a soundscape for a whole city?
Yeah, we were just trying to create soundscape for our neighborhood, you know what I mean, that just transcended, you know, after we released it. So we was just trying to represent, you know, our hood. We wasn't even trying to be like, yo, let's just put the city on our back. Nah, we was just repping Queensbridge, you know what I mean, just straight up. And then, you know, people love that, you know what I mean, when you give them a glimpse inside of your neighborhood, because, you know, everybody has a neighborhood.
It's the purest art form to me.
Yeah.
Like that's what hip hop is.
Straight up.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about Pour the Henny featuring Nas, you know, fellow Queensbridge icon, legend, you know, still alive, still here, and still essential on the mic without a shadow of a doubt. And by the way, kind of money he could have checked out a long time ago. I mean,
Long time ago.
you know, that tech, God bless that tech money, man. I mean, he's a very savvy investor. But, you know, it's just an incredible artist. And obviously that's a lifelong relationship. And you know, just speak to that and how that relationship has grown.
Man, you know, it's one of those things, like, it's super dope. I've known him since preschool, hung out as teenagers.
That far back?
Like, really? Ask him. You know what I mean? Like,
wow, I didn't know it went that far back.
Yeah.
You know, we go so way back. And then the reconnect as teenagers before he even was on Live at the Barbecue, before that.
And then back then, we're gonna play ping pong here because there's so much of this I'm interested in with your blessing. So even as a teenager, you know, and you've known him as a kid, as kids, did you recognize the ambition and the talent even then, or did it surprise you when he started showing up?
I'll tell you a story real quick. I knew he rhymed. He knew I rhymed. So I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Let me hear you rap. And when he rapped, I was like, oh, man, this is not fucking fair. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, as a matter of fact, I rapped first.
Yeah.
Right? I rapped first thinking like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? Then he did a rhyme. I'm like, you tricked me. You know what I'm saying?
He comes in, he's like, streets disciple of my raps. What the fuck?
Like, I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
For people that didn't know,
back.
when Nas first dropped, it was like LeBron James of rap. It was like this rap prodigy that just a whole wave came over hip hop.
For many reasons, but I love Large Professor so much is that he gave him barbecue, right? He knew, and everybody knew. You know, and it's like, I want to say the other MCs on that song knew, because I'm sure everyone brought their best game, and it's a great posse cut. It's a great group cut. But anyone who heard that song knew. So Large Professor must have known.
He knew. If anyone knew, Large Professor knew. Because think about it, like, you know, he told me stories that he used to sneak Nas into the studio when Eric B. and Rakim wasn't there, like when they had time off. Some of them demos, he believed in Nas, like
from the dot.
He saw it first. I mean, anyone in Queensbridge saw it, but as far as a producer, the level of Large, got to give him his credit. He saw that.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Crazy.
You know Pitchfork? This week you very much remember Pitchfork for good reason.
Right.
You know, there has been the 100 best albums of all, rap albums of all time, greatest rap albums of all time. You know, there is a reader's poll, and then there is an editorial poll. And the reader's poll, you know, Queensbridge, Nas, Illmatic, number one.
Yeah.
On the editorial poll, Queensbridge, Mobb Deep.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all.
Because Queens got the best MCs.
There you go. There you go.
He's on to something.
Let's just talk a little bit about what that means, though, because obviously lists are a part of life. We love to make them. We love to talk about them. They kick, they kick the banality of real life wide open, and we get to fucking shit talk for a minute, right, and celebrate for a minute. But for you, especially on the eve of this new album, to be honored in that way. Can you just put into words what it felt like to know that you know that there's a respect there amongst music people?
Yeah, it feels good because look, sometimes Mobb Deep, me being Mobb Deep, we feel a little underrated, right? You know what I mean? Because we didn't get some of the looks that other people got, but to know that your peers is still revering you,
number one,
and saying, "Hey, man, your album is number one." It's like it's not taken lightly. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it. You know what I mean? And on the heels of us dropping this album is definitely a good look.
You couldn't have written it better. You couldn't have marketed it better.
Right.
Yo, that's crazy. What's interesting to me is you said, rightfully so, that you feel underrated. Did you ever want to play that game where you tried to make a hit or like a radio? So did you ever want to do that?
Nah, because once you start playing that game, I think it's kind of over. You know what I mean? You really got to let the art flow. You know what I mean? Now, then it's becoming like, commercial and, nah. So we always like kind of try to keep it organic.
I'm glad y'all did.
Bringing it back to you, Al, for a second, just talking about your contributions to this album.
Yeah.
Gunfire.
Gunfire. Pow, pow, pow.
Pow, pow, pow. Pow, pow. I don't know how you allocate a move and how you select and move, but I'm going to assume that with the greatest respect to all of your family and friends and collaborators and creators, of which we love that you work with, that you are looking at this opportunity on a Mobb Deep album with your friend here as a chance to really find something or create something that is like, all right, like I've got to put everything into this one. Like, can you just talk us through how you went through sort of creating the music for this album and whether it did feel even, again, with respect, a little different given how your story started and interweaved it is with the Mobb Deep story?
I didn't want to psych myself out, but it was definitely pressure I put on myself, just thinking about the legacy and how much Mobb Deep means to me. Before I knew them, once I met them, how they changed my life. You know what I mean? So I was making sure that the beats and the sounds that I was bringing to the table were special and unique. And also, you got to remember, like, Mobb Deep has a sound.
Exactly.
So it was like, like Taj Mahal or Gunfire, like, who else is going to rap on that beat? You'll just hear it and go, oh, that sounds like a Mobb Deep.
No, it's evident. It's evident. As soon as you hear it, you know.
It's a Mobb, and I think more than anything, I was trying to make sure that we rekindled the sound, which was created by my brother Havoc. And it was like, I was trying to stay in that spirit more than a dazzling beat or anything. It was like, the sound was always so rich and important, and I feel like there's kind of a void now that P's not here and we're not able to do this as often. So it's like the sound, I wanted it to be like the minute you hear it, like the minute you hear Against the World or Taj Mahal, it's like out the gate, and then P's voice comes in and you are reminded of what they brought to the game. So, of course, everybody who I work with knows, how important Mobb Deep is to me. I'm working with Erica. The reason we connected was over The Realist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So everything goes back to Mobb Deep. Yeah. So I didn't take it light, and I feel like people will feel that when they hear the records.
Gentlemen, you talked about the footage that you have, archival footage of your brother, of your friend, who's no longer with us, and of you, I'm sure, creating this album before this album. We talked about the records you make feeling like movies. There's a sense of like an immersiveness, and when you listen to the record, it's not just a record, it's more than that. There's a documentary here, isn't there? Isn't there something here that is an extension of this renewal, this new 0.0, this album, this completion of the relationship on record? Isn't there a story to tell beyond the music?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you can see that from the footage that we used and, the archival footage that, we got from Alchemist. That the story is still yet to be told, the full story. This is the audio version right now that we putting out, but there's definitely going to be a visual out there that, just to complete the Mobb Deep story so people could get an idea of what we went through, and how we got to where we are, and I think the fans deserve it.
And at the center of that is a friendship.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? It's a friendship, a brotherhood. Me and P were tight. I've known him longer than I didn't know him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We met in high school, as teenagers and watched each other grow, become different people, but still stuck together. You know what I mean? And it's tough, having a group with two different people that might have two different ideas, but holding it together for the collective. It is a miracle for the collective good. It is what it is. Yeah, we had our ups and downs. You know what I mean? We did.
What a blessing you were able to climb that mountain and come down the other side together.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Because dude, life is life. It has its own ideas.
It really does.
Congratulations, on finishing this project, this album, which is just, dude, it is top to bottom pure quality. That's the only way to describe it.
True indeed. I mean, I'm happy with the project for real. Like, I'm really, really happy what Al did, and happy what we did together. I think people gonna enjoy this one, man.
And the prevailing sensation at this point now is gratitude.
Straight up.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Still out here killing it. Shout to, Ghost, Ray. Thank you to Nas, the Clips, everybody that came through, Noid. I feel like we
Whose
put
idea
together-
was it to get the great Georgia Smith on this record, man? She's so good.
Whoa.
We need to thank him.
Word.
For real.
Yeah.
And speaking of Ray, me and Raekwon got a 30th anniversary tour coming up because it's the 30th anniversary of the infamous album, 30th anniversary of the Cuban Links. So that's just another element. Like we was talking about Appetite earlier. So the Appetite's there. We got to remind these people like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Come out. Chain swinging.
That
You feel me?
year in hip hop, man.
Yeah, man. 1995 was a year.
Yeah.
It was a year.
It was.
You didn't have to remind us we're going to be at that show. I really, really enjoyed seeing you both. It's great to meet you at last after a life of listening to your music and being inspired by the records that you make. Good to see you again.
Always,
Sometimes, man, I don't know if you're still down in the same spot. Sometimes I drive and I'm going to just like knock on the
You
door.
need to,
But
man.
I can't find it. It's like the Bat Cave.
If it's like 8 in, I'm there. 7,
yeah.
8.
It's like below a
Awake.
tire shop next to a bakery.
It's very low key.
It's like there's fucking 8 businesses around it and 19 doors, and somewhere in there, Alchemist is making magic.
I'm gonna pin drop it for you. I got you.
Thank you, brother. It's great to see you both, man. God bless this brand new Mobb Deep album and 2 icons in the building. Thank you.
Yeah.
so
Thank
much.
y'all, man. Thank y'all.